self-serving, ignorant clown, this racist, semi-illiterate moron, this pathologically lying, feeble-minded, morally bankrupt, constitutionally illiterate simpleton, this bloated nitwit with his cotton candy hair, radioactive tinted skin, and obese dishevelment, and think, yeah, I think that's a guy I admire.
Hey TikTok fans, I want to tell you about my plane ride back from Europe with the MAGA man. I'll try to make this as short as possible. It may be a little long. So I don't know if you know this, but flying to Europe, the flight is about 7.5 hours just this side of Europe. Because you're flying with the jet stream. When you're flying back, it's about 9 hours-ish because you're flying against the jet stream. So it's a longer flight coming back, yay me. So I'm Delta Gold Medallion, Sky Priority. I was sitting in comfort class. I was on the 2-seater, so it's like, the 252 plane. So I was sitting at the window, so the seat next to me, the aisle seat, he was sitting in. When he came up, y'all, I was already on the plane. I was like, fuck. You could just tell. You could just tell. He was, burly, bearded, wearing a military hat, like all the things, right? I even messaged my mom. I was like, crap, there's a guy sitting next to me, but I think he's probably MAGA. I even said that to my mom. So we're on the flight, we're flying. At some point, I look over, he has his laptop out, and I see he has something up, his medical records. And there's a logo there for my local hospital. And so I probably shouldn't have said anything, but I said, where do you live? And he goes, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, that's where I live. And I said, I just glanced over and saw the logo for the hospital. And I was like, oh my gosh, you must be in that system too. And he's like, I am. So we started talking to figure out we have multiple people that we both know. I probably have met him at some point and just didn't know, like years ago, out somewhere. And so come to find out, he is an ex-Army Green Beret, Special Forces. He's a Green Beret. He's coming back from Prague from this military reunion he has with some of his Green Beret buddies. And he is trying to get signed up for VA benefits because he has no medical insurance. And I said, well, good luck with that. He said, what do you mean? And I said, because this administration is like cutting all the veteran benefits. And he's like, well, I don't know about that. And I was like, no, they are. Let's talk about it. So we start talking about it. And so in the process of this, of course, I come to find out he's a, Trump supporter. And so I said, let me ask you something. I said, what did you feel about January 6th? And he said, I thought it was great. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I said, these people killed, maimed police officers and later committed suicide. He's like, well, yeah, there wasn't that many, it was exaggerated. And I said, it doesn't matter if it was 1 or 100. I said, I said, these people were just doing their job. He goes, well, yeah, but they shot that woman. And I was like, she was breaking and entering basically. And I said, she was told to stop multiple times and she did not stop. And I said, they said, stop or we will shoot. They told her what was going to happen. She thought because she was a white woman, it wasn't going to happen, and it did. He was like, well, yeah. And so we had quite an intimated conversation, I will say. He was gesticulating. I mean, we weren't arguing, but we were having a discussion. And he got a little loud a couple of times, and the lady across the aisle from us was giving us the eyeball. I said, you need to bring it down a notch. I said, I'm not trying to be bossy pants, but I said, people are looking, and we don't need to get ejected from the plane. And so, but it was civil because we know the same people. And so then I said to him, I said, I have another question for you. He said, what? I said, what if, this administration calls martial law or at some point calls the military forward to exert force on civilians? Would you agree with that? Would you participate in that? He goes, that's not going to happen. And I was like, don't say it's not going to happen because it's being talked about. It has been talked about by the administration. And I said, so I'm just saying, you need to be thinking about that. If you were called on, or any military was called on to exert force against civilians, would you do it? I said, because that is a huge issue. And I said, because technically, even though the military serves the president, they take an oath to the Constitution, not to the president. And I said, so yeah, I would like to think that most military people would not do that. So anyway, here's the funny end to the story, y'all. So I was talking about getting a pew-pew and that I needed to learn how to shoot my pew-pew. And he's actually, I don't know if it's going to actually happen, but we have tentative plans to go, not this coming weekend, but the next weekend, March 8th, to a gun range. And he's going to show me how to use a pew-pew. And I know y'all saying, Julie, why are you hanging out with him? Well, I think I might have had a little bit of an effect on him, so I'm gonna like keep working that. Keep working that. He is a nice guy. I mean, he made poor choices, but yeah, if he can teach me how to shoot a pew pew, I will be happy. So that was my story. It was quite interesting. That's the very briefest version of it. This was a 9-hour plane ride, remember? So
let's just go ahead and say it out loud. These MAGA FAFO moments, absolute gold. Not in a patriotic, bald eagle screeching kind of way, but in a "this is America's messiest reality show and we can't look away" kind of way. It's like the political version of The Real Housewives, but with less glam, more delusion, and a cast of characters who think being loud is the same as being right. Every day, there's a new plot twist. Someone gets indicted. Someone gets caught lying. Someone storms a courthouse dressed like it's cosplay night at a country fair. And just when you think the season finale is near, bam. Another episode drops, full of dramatic monologues, public meltdowns, and unhinged social media rants. Honestly, it's giving America's next top cult leader, and Trump is serving main character energy like his name is tattooed on the Constitution.
The Trump administration is telling seniors, if you don't get your Social Security check, don't complain about it. At least that's how it appears, as Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, went on live TV to say this.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just would. She thinks something got messed up, and she'll get it next month.
Right. Be like his mother-in-law. If you don't get your check, just assume it'll take care of itself next month, and you go ahead and suffer for a whole month. Maybe go hungry. You got a metabolism that should hold you over until then. This is their justification for dismantling the help center, the call centers within Social Security, is that seniors probably wouldn't complain anyways. They'll just tough it out until their check comes next time around. When people say that cruelty is the whole purpose of this administration, sometimes I find it hard to argue anything else when they say things like this.
But here's where it gets less entertaining and more sad. Every time I talk to someone still deep in the MAGA sauce, I walk away wondering, how did we get here? Not in a philosophical sense, but literally. How did so many people get duped this hard for this long? Because when you strip away the flag waving and caps and chants, you're left with folks who genuinely believe Trump is doing right by them. Even as their wallets get lighter, their rights get chipped away, and their futures get dimmer by the hour. These aren't just misinformed people. Some are your neighbors, your relatives, your old high school classmates who now post 14-paragraph rants on Facebook with blurry memes and conspiracy theories about grocery stores installing spy cameras in the lettuce aisle. And the sad part? These folks think they're winning. They think every move Trump makes, no matter how reckless, divisive, or flat-out cruel, is some kind of masterstroke. Like he's 3 steps ahead in a game the rest of us just don't understand. But what exactly did he promise them? Day 1, miracles, lower prices, jobs for everyone, that the world would respect us again? I hate to break it to you, but the only thing Trump has delivered quickly is drama. Everything else? Still on back order. Grocery prices, sky high. Eggs cost more than a monthly Netflix subscription. Gas? Don't even talk to people in the Midwest about gas unless you're ready for a TED Talk on broken promises and broken bank accounts. And America's global image. We went from leader of the free world to that one guy at the party who keeps yelling and no one invited. But the real gut punch? Veterans. These are the people who bled, sweated, and sacrificed for this country. And what do they get in return? Bureaucratic red tape, underfunded programs, and policy decisions made by people who've never once had to face the consequences of war, but are quick to wave a flag and shout about patriotism. And let's not forget other vulnerable groups. Immigrants, people of color, women seeking basic healthcare rights. This administration has been a wrecking ball to the very communities that make America what it should be. And the saddest part is, the damage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, like a law passed in the night, a service quietly defunded, or a voice that just gets drowned out in the noise. Trump 2.0 isn't a comeback, it's a cautionary tale. And while some are still sipping the Kool-Aid like it's communion wine, the rest of us are here, eyes wide open, watching history repeat itself, this time with worse lighting and even fewer facts. So yeah, the MAGA FAFO saga is oddly therapeutic. Not because we enjoy watching people struggle, but because sometimes the only way to cope with the madness is to laugh, stay informed, and remind ourselves that we're not the crazy ones.
Has anybody showed this video to Donald Trump? Anybody?
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the the Great Depression, passed the a tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which raised or lowered tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone seen this?
Never surrender to the tyranny.
What is Trump doing here on this shirt?
This is his mugshot.
Gotcha. So that was taken when he surrendered to authorities to have his picture taken.
Huh? It says never surrender, but
Is that on the back? Is the butt? Let me see the back. Let me see the back.
I think
Butt,
it's just Trump.
It's just Trump. So where's the butt part? That's implied?
This week's guest stars are none other than the Democrats, serving piping hot reality checks to MAGA voters who, bless their hearts, are still worshiping at the altar of Daddy Trump like he's the second coming of chaos. And not just any chaos. We're talking full-blown, sirens blaring, Constitution on fire kind of chaos. The kind where basic norms are shredded, power grabs are disguised as law and order, and every press conference feels like an audition for a dystopian Netflix series.
This is a song for the President of the USA. I'm afraid this is the end. We had a good run, tried our best, but hatred got the better of us all. 'Cause it was never blue versus red, that's propaganda we've been fed by billionaires as they slowly take over. American beauty, it's just in the movies. Now red, white, and blue's no longer what it used to be. The dream is a nightmare, but how did we get here? Sold our souls and took the devil's hand. What does it mean to be American? It's not your fault, and it's not mine. This tale is as old as time. Every great empire will one day crumble. And maybe in the ruins we will build a new land of the free, where love is love and everyone is equal. American beauty is just a bad movie. Now red, white, and blue's no longer what it used to be. The dream is a nightmare, and how did we get here? Sold our souls and took the devil's hand. That's what it means to be American. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Meanwhile, Democrats are out here in their metaphorical hazmat suits, trying to disinfect the toxic mess left behind. They're passing out reality checks like Oprah handing out cars. You get a consequence. You get a consequence. And hoping, praying, that somewhere deep down, some MAGA loyalists might finally connect the dots between their votes and the current chaos. They're not just here to debate, they're here to remind MAGA land that when you elect someone who treats governing like a personal vendetta, you don't get greatness. You get a government that runs on fear, favors, and the occasional late-night meltdown on Truth Social.
All right, American made, sir, could you both turn backwards somewhere? No, he just needs to check your tags on your shirt and your hat. You just need to see what that means. No, the MAGA shirt, the MAGA shirt. Let's see what that's name. Nicaragua! It's made in Nicaragua! So, he is a good sport. He's taking the shirt off. We're taking crime off the streets. show fucking hot. That's a good sport. You get one proudly Native American Dropkick Murphy shirt. You gotta make America great again. You got the Elon Musk true Nazi version on. You wanna, what's all the dice? What's all the dice? Let's see where it's made. Come on, man. Yeah, drum roll, please, man. It's got no tag, and you know what that means? It wasn't fucking made in America, I can tell you that. But we'll call it a draw, okay? And we'll give you the shirt, and hey, I appreciate you being good sports, and I will say, from the bottom of our hearts, we are the most anti-fucking MAGA band on earth, okay? But all opinions are welcome because it's still America!
The man is back in office, and within months, he's managed to turn the White House into a reality show reboot no one asked for, complete with loyalty tests, retribution threats, and more. Let's be honest, this mess didn't just fall out of the sky. It was built, tweet by tweet, tantrum by tantrum, executive order by unhinged executive order. MAGA voters handed the keys to a man who treats the Constitution like it's an IKEA manual he never intended to read. And what did they get in return? A country mismanaged, an economy held together with duct tape and denial, and a democracy so fragile it needs life support.
I have to say, I love President Donald Trump. I really do. There's so many things I love about him. I guess I'll start with his family. I love his family, his children, his white children. I love that they're white, and I love that they're blonde. Well, one of his sons is brunette with a beard, but that is okay because he is white, and I like that, and that makes me comfortable. I also love Trump's wife, Melania. Now, she's European, and that's a little different for me, and I don't like that, but she is white, and I like that she's white. Elon Musk. Mr. Elon Musk, lest we forget, is he white? I'm not really sure sometimes. He is. Oh, good water relief. I like his cars. I like that he makes cars. And I like that he's white. And J.D. Vance is white, Vice President J.D. Vance. His wife is not white. And that worries me. But it's okay, because vice presidents don't matter. I just love them all, and I feel safe, and I feel heard, and I feel uplifted, and they're gonna take care of me, and we're gonna get the bad guys, and we're gonna get them out of here. We're gonna get them out. Because I don't like anything that's different than me, and we're getting them out. And they're gonna do it, and I'm gonna feel better! I'm excited about this presidency.
Honestly, this isn't what our forefathers fought for. They didn't risk it all for some modern-day strongman cosplay, where checks and balances are optional and the press is the enemy unless it's praising the dear leader. What we're seeing isn't patriotism, it's political cosplay with real-world consequences. And the Democrats have had enough of pretending otherwise. So, my friends, buckle up. Because this isn't just a political spat, it's a showdown for the soul of the country. The Democrats have stories to tell, warnings to shout, and receipts to show. They're coming not just for Trump's lies, but for the entire machinery that allows this madness to persist unchecked. And maybe, if enough MAGA voters actually listen instead of chanting, they'll start to realize that democracy isn't a one-man show, and the Constitution wasn't written in crayon by a guy who thinks checks and balances is a fancy way to talk about his bank account. Because here's the hard truth. This nation runs on institutions, not instincts, on laws, not loyalty oaths. And if the only qualification for office is how loudly you can yell witch hunt, then we might as well replace Congress with a reality TV reunion episode and call it a day. But the Democrats? They still believe there's something worth saving. They believe in the stubborn, unglamorous work of democracy, of pushing policies, protecting rights, and telling hard truths, even when it's easier to play it safe. They know you can't outshout a lie, but you can outlast it. So while MAGA World spins deeper into its fantasy fanfic version of America, the grown-ups in the room are turning on the lights. And the message is simple. The chaos is not inevitable. The circus can be packed up, but only if enough people wake up, speak out, and show up before the final act becomes our new normal. Because if we've learned anything from this sequel, it's that unchecked power doesn't fade quietly. It needs to be voted out, loudly, clearly, and with a side of reality served hot. Lights up, mic on. Let's roll.
It only took 2 weeks for Republicans to go from we need to stop sending money overseas so that we can care for homeless and disabled veterans in our country to homeless and disabled veterans in our country are scamming the system and we need to take their benefit.
The revolution is not being televised, but Republicans are dropping out of town hall meetings en masse. Do you know why? You don't, because the revolution is not being televised.
It's time to speak up. I just got barred from the rest of the town hall meeting here in Bonham, Texas, Fannin County, with Representative Pat Fallon. Pat Fallon was towing the Trump party line, singing the praises of Doge and saying how they're not cutting veteran services, just employees. I said boo a few times, not alone. There were many people who said boo. Far more people saying boo than the ones that were clapping. But when I did, a Capitol Police officer, she has a uniform and a badge that said Capitol Police, came and stood right beside me. And then 2 people got taken out. One lady was saying he should be ashamed of himself when he was talking about veterans. There was a Hispanic man. I did not hear what he said, but they took his arm to take him out. And so I got up to go because I'll be damned if I'm going to sit there like the people in that town hall where that lady got zip tied and drug out. I went out to make sure they were okay. I cooled off a minute and then I tried to go back in and they wouldn't let me. They barred the door. There were Fannin County Sheriff's Office and there were also the Capitol Police woman who said, I can't go back in. You've been asked to leave. I said, no, I wasn't. I wasn't asked to leave. I got up and left on my own and now I want to come back in and watch the rest, hear my representatives. No, ma'am, you can't. You're disruptive. How was I disruptive? Well, you said boo. Yeah, I said boo, but there were a lot of people clapping who interrupted. That's disruptive. Are you asking them to leave? No, man, you're being disrespectful. It's disrespectful to say boo. So this is where we are, people. This is our America. If you clap and say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, you can stay. If you say boo, you no longer get to go and be present at a town hall. This is our America now. Go out there and love your neighbor.
Don't let the fascist media fool you into thinking that this country's gone full Nazi. It absolutely has not. The Nazis are loud, and they are being led by one of the most disgusting human beings to ever disgrace the human race, and it is embarrassing and it is terrifying. They are loud, but they are not winning. Why don't you search Republican town halls here? Again, the revolution isn't being televised, but it's happening, and we're winning. And if you don't believe me, go look at Tesla's stock price today. Compare it to 3 months ago. You can live in a world of alternative facts. But the funny thing about money is it cuts through the propaganda of the cult, don't it? Go die in a fire, every Nazi ever.
Good day, folks, and welcome back to yet another spicy, chaotic, and deeply ironic episode of Trump's America, The Regret Chronicles. Today's feature presentation, Tearful MAGA Regrets When FAFO Becomes Reality. Yes, we're talking about those die-hard, flag-waving, truck-decaling Trump loyalists who are now quietly Googling how to break up with the political cult. And it's painful to watch. Not because we sympathize per se, but because this is what happens when you invest your soul into a man who treats loyalty like a disposable razor. Use, toss, repeat. Here's the tea. Trump, aka Daddy MAGA, is once again dropping bombshells like he's DJing at a demolition site. One executive decision here, a betrayal there, maybe a backhanded jab at one of his own allies just for flavor, and boom. Another chunk of the base is left blinking in disbelief, whispering, wait, he can't mean me. Oh, but he does, sweetheart. He always does.
Also crazy. So last night, I was scrolling TikTok before I went to bed, and my algorithm did this switch, and all of a sudden, I started getting all the, I regret my vote. Like, there's literally a